All right, we're back again with the Rise and Go podcast. I am your host, Michael Davis of the Elevant brand. I am super excited to have our next guest here. Without further ado, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yep, my name is Ryan Concannon. I currently live in Missouri, and I know Mike very well. I played college baseball with him, so excited to be here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you. And yeah, I figured we'd kick off this podcast. Let's do a little rundown memory lane, and let's talk a little bit more about Lambuth. It's so interesting that Lambuth is no longer like an athletic school, or more than anything, it's actually a part of the University of Memphis. But why don't you share with the audience, how you ended up there, and I can chime in with how my interesting journey of getting there as well.
For sure, yeah. So obviously, from Missouri, went here, decided I was going to stay local, wanted to play baseball for the University of Missouri. Ended up not working out, did some summer ball stuff where a coach from down in Tennessee saw me, so he wanted me to come down there. Thought it was a great campus, I really liked the small town vibe, everything like that. So went down there, obviously really enjoyed my time down there playing baseball. And then kind of like you said, no longer. A couple years after, I remember getting a message from somebody saying that they had shut down and Memphis had taken over. So I called real quick, got my transcripts, and didn't really know what to do from there. But obviously, everything worked out fine. And loved being down there, though.
Yeah. I thought it was a really great experience. When I think back to, the opportunity to come to Lambuth, I had originally signed at Belmont University and, through grades and a little bit of troublemaking of my own, that opportunity didn't work out for me. And, I always think about the difference between, Lambuth being a smaller school, a little bit more intimate, a little bit, you have a closer connection to professors, to the people in the school. I think there's just a greater ability to fit in more than anything. And
For sure.
coming from Minneapolis, it's a larger city, but being able to transition into from the north to the south is something I talk about quite regularly. But I thought it was a really interesting dynamic when I got there. We had a pretty good team, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it would have been your first year down there. Totally turned it around. I think we had several losing seasons in a row, and I think the first year you got there would have been my senior year. We turned it around quite a bit, and actually ended up, I think we actually won conference or got tied for first in conference, which was for them a pretty big deal at the time. So that was pretty awesome to be part of.
I don't want to take all the credit for it, but I'd be happy to. I was the reason it all got turned around. No, I'm
I
just
mean, the
kidding.
timing worked out, so you might as well
It
take credit
sure
for it,
did.
man.
Well, it was interesting too that we had some transfers come in. I think about like Brandon Craig. I think about Brian Wilsey. And a couple of other folks that again, it was really unique in that I didn't know what to expect when I got on campus. It was kind of an opportunity for me to kind of turn my life around. Get back on the right track. And it's so funny how sometimes things in life, they work out the way that they're supposed to. And although we only got to play 1 year together, the 2 other years that I got to play there, like we really elevated the success of the team year in and year out. And was John Barlow was a coach that our first year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't remember, but he brought a very interesting approach. Coming from Vanderbilt University, a lot more structure, a little bit more of kind of like the JUCO route, where it's like you got to be held accountable for your actions, you got to show up on time,
Oh yeah.
almost a little bit more of like that military type approach, where it's like you got to get up early for Friday and Monday morning workouts, practices. And I really think that really changed the culture of the team, and what ultimately led to success. But why don't you share with us a little bit more around like your passion with baseball and why you ended up going that route?
Yeah, so always played baseball growing up. Was something definitely loved, probably more than any other sport. Football never really stuck. I played hockey for a couple of years. That was great, but in the winter, traveling, 2 or 3 times a week, going 2 or 3 hours for games and practices, my parents weren't really into that. So baseball was, from the time 7 until I graduated high school, always played competitive baseball, traveled a ton, really loved it, and it was definitely just something like all kids who, we grew up wanting to go play in the pros, but you look back now and you realize just all the time you thought you were way better than you were, but also, you look back and you wish you would have put a little more effort in. So there's a lot of things you learn after the fact. You coach some other people, you help you do that stuff after the fact that you just realize there's a lot of time that you kind of wasted and could have been a lot better if you would have, given a little more opportunity at the time.
You know what's so interesting is I think about that every day, like especially like when I'm in the gym and or like if I'm like playing hoops or doing something competitive. I feel like my competitive drive is way higher now than it was back in like college. I felt as though I was a pretty talented baseball player, so it was always like, well, if I do what I need to do, I don't necessarily have to work as hard in the conditioning, the lifting, and it's one of those regrets that I have is I wish I would have tried harder. I wish I would have put in more
Oh,
effort.
yeah.
I wish I would have focused more in some areas. But again, I think those are all a part of the learning experience of growing up. And I think this transitions well into your current business of coaching dads in this day and age. So why don't you give us a shout out to your business and share with us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, definitely transition well. It was funny you said your competitive drive only got better after college, and for me, the working out, all that stuff was always easy for me. But like the extra hitting practice, all the stuff that you were supposed to do on your own, never really did. You get done, you realize you have so many regrets about the effort level you put in. So I always told myself I never wanted to live like that forever. But yeah, I'll be 39 in 2 months or 2 or 3 months, and this past year I had my second son on the way, and I really figured it was time to fully commit to it. I've been lifting for 20 years now, know all the stuff. I've tried everything, every type of diet, every type of nutrition plan and workout, and I figured it was finally time to actually commit to becoming my best self and becoming the best dad and the best husband I could be. And then, the more you get into it, you realize just how many other people need help and just how many other people just don't understand how simple and how basic this stuff is. And just with a little help can make such a big difference in their life, whether it's their health or whether it's their energy or just drive to be a better person or better father. I figured it was finally time to commit to helping others. So basically, January 1st of last year, my goal was to go all in, and see what I could do. I gave myself 12 months to see what I could do as far as building the business. So right now it's Concannnon Fit. And, my goal was to help as many men as I could and see what I could get my Instagram following to. I had all these short-term goals. I thought it'd be cool to get to like 2,000 followers, things like that. And, it's just funny how, we have these self-limiting beliefs of what we can do or what we accomplish. But when we commit to something and go all in, it's pretty incredible what we can do.
I couldn't agree more. And I echo that sentiment of like going all in and committing. I think about when I am doing my social media, a lot of it is just me at the gym, just working out. But I consistently always say, you have to commit to the
Mm-hmm.
gym if you want to reach your goals of, physical fitness. And there's so many different levels of commitment. I don't, not to hate on anyone, but there's a lot of times where I go to the gym, I see people that, it's like they're checking a box. I went to the gym,
Absolutely.
I was here, I did a little something. And I think that's where my mindset shifted was, I'm not doing enough in here. I can go harder. I can do more. And, again, when you say commit, there's a serious like thought process behind that because now you have to like set goals. You have to have a plan in place to be successful. So why don't you share a little bit more about how you assist people in that arena of like setting goals, setting a plan, and ultimately seeing the results that they want to see?
For sure. And I agree with you. We've all been in the gym and we all work out. Even, there's guys you see in the gym or females that, we've all done it. We just check the box. We go in there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, our quick 30, 45-minute workout and get out of there. And I even see a ton of people currently with trainers. It's like they're there for social hour. They're there for 30 minutes to check a box, but 6 months later, you don't see a change. You don't see any development in their body, whether they're trying to lose weight or build muscle. It's almost like they're doing it just to do it, or they don't fully understand just how little of a switch they can, make and see such a massive difference. So that's kind of what I wanted to focus on to help people is, I'd say half my clients are completely new to fitness and or have always wanted to get in. And that's what I'm able to help them put together a structured plan, depending whether it's 3, 4, or 5 days. As long as you can lift full 3 days a week, you can see massive gains and lose fat at the same time, especially when you're new. But the other half of my clients are the ones kind of like we're talking about that we have been and we've seen where, they've committed to the gym. They do all that stuff, but they don't have their nutrition locked in or they don't understand what macros are. They don't understand, don't waste on the weekends by binge eating for 3 or 4 nights in a row and then, drinking all the time. That's what I did for a long time. I justified it by lifting as hard as I could 5 days a week, and then I could do whatever I want on the weekends. But the older you get, you realize that's just not the way anymore. So that's kind of why I wanted to commit to being the best version of myself. So really cut all that extra stuff out. But like you said, you just make tiny little tweaks and you can see an absolutely massive difference.
I couldn't agree more. And, I think it's so interesting because I was always a route of like, I never liked, taking like whey protein. I didn't like taking supplements. I use them from time to time to, probably just trick myself into like, I'm trying to do a little bit more. But,
Hmm.
where I've really seen, a massive shift is, I think, in the kitchen is the key to success. And, I'm switching to kind of more of a whole food diet, nutrient dense meals has been, a real game changer for me. And, trying to lose,
Hmm.
I've lost upwards of like 70 pounds in over the
Wow.
course of like the last 3 years. And I think we have a cheat code as athletes because, throughout our life, we know what we need to do in the gym. We understand how to do basic lifts. We know how to do more complicated lifts. We know what it's like when we push ourselves. So, let me ask you this: for a customer of yours that is new to fitness, what is like the introduction you give them? Because I'm guessing you don't want to overwhelm them with like a 50 point like plan of like what you need to do. Kind
Yep.
of walk us through, with a new client.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So what I do to make it easy on them, and again, when it comes to nutrition and fitness stuff, I believe in customizing it to everybody because it's going to be different for each person, whether it's a male or female, whether they're 25 or 45, and especially depending on their schedule. I'm a busy dad with two kids now, so my schedule works for me, and I got to find what workouts work for me. So when I onboard someone, I want to make sure I get to know who they are, kind of what their schedule is, how many days a week they can work out, if they've even lifted before. On a scale 1 to 10, how do you feel in the gym? You're brand new, or you've, done powerlifting. How do you feel there? That's going to determine what lifts we put together for you. I'm a firm believer on strength training, and making sure that we get stronger. I don't do a ton of cardio. I feel like if you lift the right weights and do progressive overload, and then just watch what you eat, you're going to see the results you want until you get to that, 10% sub body fat. That's when you really need to dial in cardio. But really want to take it easy with people, especially that are new. And I put together a full guide that really explains the basics of macronutrients and how those are going to actually help you. Because the big thing is, it's not trying to add everything to your diet. It's subtracting the bad stuff. It's counting the good stuff. It's focusing on proteins first. And like you said, the whole foods, the more foods you can eat with one, maybe two ingredients, the better you're going to be. And you're going to be more full. So that's one of the best parts about, people call it a diet when you eat healthy, but when you eat nutritious foods and you focus on protein, you actually can hardly even get to your protein or your macro goal every day because you're actually more full. No one's ever hungry on my plan. They actually complain that most days they can't even get in all the food. So when you switch from that, or just, you don't need to eat 5 things of peanut butter or a bunch of cupcakes or cookies because those are just empty calories. So when you focus on the simple stuff, it can make a huge difference.
Sure. Give us a breakdown of like macros. What does that mean and how do you hone in on that area? I want our listeners to, have a lot of information in this area. And it's like, I understand macros. I don't track them. I try to keep it as simple as possible. But like you see a lot of times in this day and age, people will be like weighing out their foods. They have these, like food calculator or food scales where it like measures out all the calories and
Oh yeah.
macronutrients. But like, how do you do this when the majority of your clients you're probably working with remotely? Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's the good thing. I had a few local clients I did stuff with, but even with them, it was all remote. It's through the computer, through the phone, through email, text, whatever's best for them. We always set it up so they have the full one-on-one communication with me. But that's the good thing about that macro guide is, and obviously you can find that stuff online, but the macros are basically going to be the fats, the proteins, and the carbs and all the food. So those added up are going to equal to the calories. So it really makes a difference when you can learn to read the back of a nutrition label on something to really understand where the calories are coming from. And the good thing is, fats have 9 grams of, 9 calories per gram. Protein and carbs have 4. So that's why if you focus on low fat, you can kind of eat twice as much as the other food. But if you do high fat, you want to set your protein level at whatever your goal body weight is or however your goal is there. And then you can basically backfill with proteins or with fats or carbs. Whatever's going to work best for you, whatever you think you can stay with, that's what I recommend. For mine, I don't like to cut carbs for my clients because I want them to have the most energy as possible in the gym. And that's what we focus on because we really want to build that muscle. And that's going to make you look better, feel more lean, everything like that. So that's what I focus on. But if you can really dive in, understand macros and how they add up to your daily calories every day, and especially when you go to the store and you look at chicken nuggets, look for the ones that have higher protein content than fat and carbs. It's little tiny changes, and especially condiments, things like that, that add up to being empty calories.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's funny. There's two main condiments that I like to use, and like one is mustard, the other one is like buffalo sauce.
Oh yeah.
Basically, 0 calories. And again, like you said, like being confident in like reading labels and understanding, like just because like something maybe has like zero sugar in it, doesn't mean that there's like a bad sugar substitute in that as well. And
Hmm.
so, like when it comes to like accountability with your clients, I want to ask this question twice because we're going to get a little bit more into what like workout plans you put together for your clients, but like when it comes to like their diet and seeing the results, how do you hold your clients accountable in that sense?
Yeah, so that's the good thing is we kind of track it, progressively throughout the 12 to 16 weeks, kind of depending on whatever they do. And the good thing is every week it's going to be, they're going to have to answer one of my forms that goes out, say, hey, how did you do this week? How did you do with your workouts? How did you do with your nutrition? How well did you track your calories? How well did you track your macros? And basically that's the easy way to keep them accountable, because if I don't get that in a certain amount of time, I'm reaching out to them. I'm going to follow up with them. They know that they have to submit that information to me. I mean, once you hire me as your coach, I'm going to be on you to make sure you get that information to me to make sure we see progress. And then from there, you hope to lose anywhere from a half a pound to 2 pounds a week, depending on where you start. And then also, half my clients are there to lose weight and then build some muscle, and then the other half kind of do a body recomposition. So if you're already fairly fit, but you're just trying to not be skinny fat or just to lose that last couple bit of stomach fat and build some muscle, you really won't see a massive shift on the scale, but you're really going to feel different in your clothes. You're going to feel different in how you look, how your arms feel. And especially for guys, it's usually in the midsection first. Our belts start changing, our sleeves start getting tighter on our arms, not so much our bellies. And for women, it's usually in their thighs and their midsection as well. So that's where, making sure we put the goal together from the beginning, and each week making custom changes to make sure that we either lower or increase the calories depending on where they're going.
For sure. And I think you made a great point there. When you start seeing results, I think your commitment to what you're doing increases exponentially because like
Oh, yeah.
everyone wants to have the quick results, everyone wants to see progress in like the first week, but that's not attainable. And if it is, it's like you're not going to be able to sustain that level of progress week in and week out. And like I love hearing that it's like a half a pound to a pound a week is like that should be your goal. And what's so interesting is especially as a guy, your water weight, if you're drinking a bunch of water, you increase your water intake, you may not see like big loads of progress in the first
Oh,
couple
yeah.
of weeks, but at the same time it's like weight is not always a dictator of success or seeing results. It's like, again, how do your clothes fit, how much more energy do you have throughout the day? And those are such key components that I think people really need to maybe have a little bit better education, which I believe you provide, is that hey, just because you're not seeing it on the scale doesn't mean that things aren't working for you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this goes back to like my own weight loss journey. It was over the course of like 3 years, and over the course of 3 years, I did a little bit of yo-yoing. But at the same time, it's like when you really hone in on things, and again, that commitment level, as long as that doesn't change, amazing things can happen. And I think that's
Oh, yeah.
what's so important. And even for like your own like weight loss journey, I've seen like where you started, where you're at now, and it's literally incredible. What were some of the biggest keys for you to achieve those results?
So for me, it was basically, I mean, I committed to it and I had to hold myself accountable. And that's the thing is once you, and it was weird, the same year I committed to helping others and posting daily on Instagram and social media to, to inspire others was what held me accountable. So if I knew I had to get up every single morning and post my morning routine and post my workouts, and if I was going to be trying to lead anybody else, whether that was another mom or another dad or anybody around me, I had to be that person. Like I almost had to prove to myself I was good,
All right.
leading those people. I was going to lead by example. I feel like that's the best thing you can do as a coach too. I don't ask my clients to do anything that I'm not going to do. But for me, it was basically just getting back to the basics. There for the first 3 months, I tracked everything I ate. Once you learn how to track things, how to measure everything out, once you get that kind of honed in and you kind of learn those skills, you almost don't have to worry about it anymore. And simplify the nutrition. Pick 2 or 3 meals that you love and eat those on repeat. And then you can give yourself a ton of grace and a ton of flexibility at dinner. So if I can control my breakfast, at 11 or noon and control my lunch at like 3 or 4 before the gym, I can be flexible with my family for dinner. I don't have to eat, chicken and rice or chicken and broccoli. And, one of the best parts is like I teach how to do all this stuff and I don't even love to eat fruits and vegetables. I have the palate of like a 12-year-old. So the more basic and simple you can make it, I, do it. Just find those 5 to 6 foods you like, eat them on repeat, give yourself the flexibility. And the biggest thing is not binging for 3 or 4 days in a row. If you go out and have one big dinner once a week, you're not going to hurt yourself. But if that was Thursday night into Sunday night, that was 40-50% of your week. That's not really a cheat meal. That's a lifestyle. So, cut out that stuff, really dial it in, control the things you can, and then give yourself grace, when you have an event or when you have family stuff. So, you're not the weird guy that's packing your lunch.
And I think that's something, again, like you mentioned, is like you can fall off track for one day and it's not going to have a big impact. But it's like you go 3, 4, 5 days in a row. And especially like, as you get older, it's like if you're drinking on the weekends, like that hangover is going to last for, 3, 4 days.
And you're never motivated the day after.
Yeah, exactly. And, I've found that myself too, where it's like, I've been doing really good. And then, I have a night out and I'm drinking too much. And then I realize how much it affects because now I'm not going as hard in the gym, or I'm skipping a day, I'm skipping 2 days. And then, my caloric intake goes up exponentially. You got to have that hangover meal or 2 or 3 of them. And again, that is a key component, like you mentioned, is like you don't have to shift dramatically in the opposite direction when you're making these changes. It's incremental at a time. And then over the course of time, it just becomes your lifestyle, like you said. And I think that is so important. So when we talk about like nutrient dense meals, give people like, like a meal plan of sorts. Like what foods do you suggest that are maybe you can do like a switch, like let's just say like instead of doing like fried chicken, you do grilled chicken. Like give people like an idea of like what you think are like the best foods for those easy meal prep plans that you put in place.
For sure. And that's where, it makes it a lot easier if you eat meat, because obviously that's going to give you a ton more options. But if you stick to just the leanest protein sources you can find, whether that's chicken thighs, chicken breast, anything like that, that's going to be without the breading, without a ton of the fat content that comes with the skin or anything like that. And for carbs, I keep it simple. I like white rice. Again, you don't need to worry about if it's white or brown. Carbs are carbs. And, depending on when you eat them, everything's going to be okay as long as you track them. I love tortillas, so I make a ton of wraps, and I use the low carb ones not to be low carb, but so I can actually eat more. That's the thing, is I find stuff that I like so I can just eat more volume. And then condiments, obviously anything that's light or fat-free or anything that's going to save you calories, I eat. For a lot of my clients, and the thing is, if you're focused on fat loss too, I think eggs are absolutely amazing, but that's where also switching in egg whites is huge, because you're going to get 2 or 3 times the protein without the extra calories. So basically, for example, on a normal day, I'll eat 2 eggs, a cup and a half of egg whites, either in a wrap or with 2 English muffins, and then 6 ounces of chicken, 6 to 8 ounces, depending on how I feel that day, whether it's rotisserie chicken, grilled chicken, or even chicken thighs with rice or bread. And obviously one of the biggest hacks is if you really like rice cakes, stuff like that. But again, everybody wants to cut out bread. Everybody wants to cut out carbs first thing, but that's what's going to give you the most energy. But if you can find things that have 1 or 2 ingredients, the lean meats, the simple carbs, stuff like that, you're going to make a massive difference. It's when you get into stuff that has, 50 grams of fat and 50 carbs. It's not the carbs that are hurting you. It's the fact that that bowl of rice had 1,000 calories instead of 2,000 or instead of 200,
Yeah, it's like you can't go to Benihana and get like, the shrimp fried rice and 2 portions of it and expect like...
Exactly. And the way I like to tell my clients, you have the protein, and then you can either choose, do you want more fat or do you want carbs? You just can't have them both, because that's where all the extra calories are going to come from.
I couldn't agree more. And, do you give Trader Joe's in
we don't
Missouri?
have that here.
Well, Trader Joe's is
like they're just packed with calories, but they claim they're healthy. Like Panera, perfect example. People think they're healthy, but again, you go there's not a single thing on their menu, including a salad, that's under 1,400 calories.
Sure. Well, and it's like you think about all the additives that go into like those highly processed food restaurants, fast food. I think that's a great like tip for people, is like just avoid fast food at all costs. I did a plan for about 6 months where the only thing that I ate was Chipotle. I would go in there, I'd make a relatively healthy, like it would be a big ass bowl, but I would eat half for lunch, half for dinner. And I know like that was my entire meal plan for the day. But I know I'm getting my carbs, I'm getting the vegetables, I'm getting the proteins that I need. And it just simplified, my meal plan. But I was this is not sustainable, because I have to like go to the gym, then I have to go to Chipotle, I got to get this food. I got to not eat it all in one sitting. But, again, I think if you can really take ownership of your kitchen in that way, like I myself, thankfully, I love to cook. And so it makes, tracking my meals, tracking my calories way easier. And, with my girlfriend here as well, she loves that I know how to cook because it makes it simpler on her. And, again, I've seen like some reels with your wife. The one that you did that got a lot of views was like, I lowered like the carbs and like she like screamed at it. I was like, that's a great video. But, again, like as a family man, how do you kind of work around, the meal prep, the meal plans and things like that?
Yeah, and see, that's what's good too. So I do 98% of the cooking in our house. Again, I've always liked to control my own meals. I like to cook. Obviously, wife's a big fan of that. She, we each do our different things around the kitchen, so it really helps out. That's where I love being able to control the other two meals of the day, because that way, when we cook dinner, we can be flexible. It doesn't have to be, I don't measure out my food at dinner. I don't eat something boring for dinner every night. We try to mix it up every night to have something different. But one of the biggest shifts you learn as a parent is you don't have to eat, in my opinion, the exact same thing as your kid. I can eat some chicken breast that's grilled. He can have the chicken nuggets, or he can have the macaroni and cheese while I have something else. Like, you don't have to eat exactly what they eat. And you also and you learn this real quick, because you don't have to finish everything on their plate either.
I was just about to say that.
I can't waste all this food. And, you literally eat their whole serving size after you ate your own dinner. And you're like, wow, I just had 500 extra calories. Like, it's small things like that that add up over time. So, but again, I think it's finding a base group of foods that you like with your spouse and with your kids that you can eat, and planning those out in advance and making sure you have that ready to go. And one of the things we like to do is when we meal prep, we cook in bulk, but also we always have one or two things in the fridge that's pre-cooked or a frozen that's ready to go that we always have. So we're never like, well, we don't have anything, let's go to McDonald's, or let's just eat chips for dinner. So we always have something, but everything's focused around a protein source, and then we, kind of build around that.
That's absolutely perfect. I myself experience this quite often, where it's like everything in my kitchen like has to be cooked. And I think that's a really healthy way to kind of go about like your meal prep, caloric intake, is like, if you have to physically make it, it's going to be healthy. But also at the same time, I love what you said, is like having those quick, healthy meals that you can make in 5 to 10 minutes. And I try to avoid using the microwave as much as possible. Sometimes it's inevitable. But like you said, those nutrient dense meals, planning ahead and avoiding those extra calories. Now, I don't have kids, but a similar scenario is like when I'm at work, we get like a lunch or some sort of dessert catered in every week, and it can be hard sometimes, but it's like I actively try to avoid eating those extra calories at work, whether it's pizza, donuts. We've done ice cream. We bring in like healthy salads, but they're filled with a bunch of bullshit. But, again, I think it's just being more self-conscious of like what you're putting in your body, when you're putting it in, and, making sure that, again, you're getting enough to where you're sustaining and you're not just, hungry all the time, but also like making the right decision. I think there's a lot of guidance that can go along with that. And, we can definitely chat more, but I want to get into your workout plans and give us, like you said, you personalize everyone's plan. But how do you kind of go about identifying what folks should be doing, how they want to do it, how many sets, what weights they should be doing? Because I feel like, again, this is where personal training, where like you're actually showing up, you're with the trainer, they get to be really hands-on when they're in the gym. But, as someone who's, working with remote clients, how do you kind of go about setting up their workout plans?
Yeah, and that's where, having that initial consultation to find out what their goals are, kind of how experienced they are in the gym already, is going to make a huge difference. But one of the best parts is with the program that I use in the actual app that all my clients get for free when they join in, is it's so focused on the client, where everything that I upload to them, so I build the workout custom. They basically go through it. It's literally scheduled out on the days they want to. They can move it if they can't work out the day. So it's so flexible with that. But every single set and every single workout they have literally shows an instructional video. So if you're not sure how to do bench press, you literally click the video. It shows you how to do it. And the big thing is I focus on, and kind of one of those limiting beliefs, as I tell people, is, you don't need to like lift heavy to get strong and lift light to get lean. All that's going to come from your nutrition. I focus on lifting heavy anywhere from that 8 to 15 range. We might sprinkle in some 15 to 20 depending on the lift itself. But, high volume, making sure we lift towards failure, that's where I think people really fail in the gym, is they don't realize that you're supposed to almost learn where to fail and how strong you really can be. For example, the easy thing for guys is you kind of limit yourself on your back exercises by how strong your grip is. You can only hold this much, but your back's, going to be the strongest body part in your gym. or that you have on your body, but you limit yourself because you don't want to fail or you don't want to feel stupid. But each lift should be going very close to failure. And that's where you're going to see those gains. So you don't end up being one of the people that, spends 2 years in the gym and doesn't see any progress. So that's kind of what I focus on. And that's what, progressive overload is kind of what it's called, is making sure that you're always progressing in your weight. That doesn't just mean you're always going up in sets and, because you can only do so much in so time. We only have 30 to 45 minutes, but if you're going to do it, go hard for that 30 to 45 minutes and really maximize that time. Because like you said, if you're going to spend the time in the gym, you might as well get the most out of it.
I couldn't agree more. I was talking to someone today about this, and they were curious about, like, what do you do in the gym? And I'm like, I go in there with a mentality of like, I'm going to outwork everybody in here. And it's almost like my own like internal competition. It's not like I'm like going to the guy that's doing like 225 on bench and I'm putting 270 on to prove a point. But it's like, I use like the observation around the gym, and it's almost like it motivates me that I know I'm going harder than the person next to me. And I'm hoping that it motivates them too to work even harder. And I think that's an interesting angle too, when people don't have that confidence of being in the gym and knowing what to do, where again, it's like that can be a difficult process for someone. Cause like you said, you have clients that, aren't, super familiar of like what they need to do in there. And so like, how do you help them build their confidence in that area?
Yeah. And one of the cool things that I do for my clients is I've had multiple ones literally reach out during a workout and be like, hey, this one, I'm not really sure what to do, or can you send me a video? And even if I'm not in the gym, I've literally like gone and set up my phone and done an example of the workout, or I've shown them what it looks like to fail, or whether it's a YouTube video. So I want to make sure that they know exactly what they're doing on every lift. And then they can send me form videos. They can even send me like, hey, am I doing this heavy enough? Am I doing it the right way? So once you sign up, basically full on one-on-one access at any point of time. So like you're going to get anything you need from me. And I don't really like the thing, if you send me a message, I'll get back to you within 24 hours. I'm going to get back to you as soon as I can, especially throughout the day. It's going to be within, 5-15 minutes. Cause I want to know, like, if you're at the gym and you have questions, I want to make sure I answer them that workout. So that's the cool thing is like, once you sign up with someone like that, is you're going to get those question answers, and we're going to actually like, I'm going in every week to make sure that we're going up in weight, that we're progressing, that we're getting stronger. And that's where those weekly check-ins and that accountability comes in. Because like I said, a lot of the guys or females that I work with have done this and they know a lot of this stuff, but they just need that extra push. They need that extra motivation, or even just someone to hold them accountable. We all know if we hire a coach and we know someone's looking over our shoulder, we're going to push a little harder.
Ain't that the truth? It's so interesting too that I think it's just, I may be in the minority here, maybe not, but it's like I have my own motivation behind what I'm doing. And it's like, I could use a personal trainer. I can probably hone in on, some more difficult exercises. But the way I like to challenge myself is doing different activities. Like I've done yoga, I've done like heated flow, I've done some like high intensity interval training.
Oh yeah.
I mix in a lot of basketball. But again, I think it's, being creative with your workouts, because we've all heard of like the plateau that everyone gets to, where it's like, oh, I'm seeing all these great results, and then for 2 months, I feel like I'm even getting weaker. How do you prevent your folks from like hitting plateaus or getting burnout in that way?
Yeah, and that's actually something that comes up quite a bit, especially with people that are newer in the gym. I actually saw a really great article today about that, where basically there's some slow gainers and there's some fast gainers. There's people that are going to see incredible results in 6 weeks, and then they're going to kind of plateau. And then there's people that it takes that 6 to 12 weeks to kind of peak, and then they all of a sudden start seeing a massive jump. So everybody's different in that form. But one thing I stress to all my clients is like, we're going to put together the plan, and the first month or two, that's the plan. Like we're not going to deviate from those workouts or lifts. And obviously, unless there's, a safety issue, or that something doesn't feel good, or something hurts, or you don't have access to it in your gym. And that's the good thing, is I build workouts for people at the gym or their home gym. Whatever they have, we're going to build it custom to them. But, everybody's set on like, well, I've done this for 2 weeks. What's next? I've done this for 2 weeks and I saw this really cool way to do bicep curls on the floor on TikTok. So let me try that. Everybody wants the next best plan instead of committing to a plan long enough to see the results. And you saw with your progress with the, weight loss, like you could have tried 1,000 different plans, and that's what we all do. But if you stick to one plan long enough, you're in a calorie deficit long enough, or you lift heavy long enough, that's where the results are going to come from. So we do tweak and change the plans to make sure that we're not stagnant. But at the same time, it's like when you commit to the right plan and commit to it long enough, that's where you're going to see the best results.
Oh, man, you're preaching to the choir right now. I love that. And, I think that's one of the things that I love about my workout routine is like, I already know what I'm going to be doing before I get into the gym. So it's like, I'm already mentally preparing myself to, whether I'm hitting legs or hitting back or hitting chest, it's like, I know which lifts I'm going to do and I can do them efficiently. So it's not like I'm like walking around the gym like, oh, what should I do next? It's like, no, I'm going straight from lat pull downs into lateral arm raises into like riding the bike for 5 minutes into push-ups. And so again, it's like you said, being efficient in the gym, I think is a critical thing as well, because I mean, I'm sure you hate this as well. When I'm in the gym and I see people just like sitting on a machine looking at their phone, I'm like, get off your phone, start doing something, do something else. And it's like, I love the interval training where it's like, I'm always in constant motion. I think like that's one of the most important things is like, I'm like, I will rest in between my sets, but like, I'll be like walking around the track or like on the bike, trying to keep my heart rate in like either a fat burning zone or like in a really high intensity zone if I'm like playing basketball or something like that. And, again, I think people need to understand that this is a long-term commitment, hopefully a lifelong commitment that you're making.
Oh, yeah.
And, again, it's like, don't expect results in the first day, the first week, maybe even the first month. The more you stick with this, the more results you're going to get, the better you're going to feel, the better you're going to look. And again, it just becomes a lifestyle. Like I can't imagine, like, of course, there's days where like I can't make it to the gym and it's like, I get so antsy, my brain starts racing. It's like, I don't have like that ability to like kind of have like that mental release where it's like, I can just zone out, be in the gym, do my thing. No one bothers me because I got those noise canceling headphones where it's like, no one talk to me. I don't want to hear it. But no, this is so great. And so I want to chat a little bit more about your social media.
I was going to say, like you said, it takes time. And that's one of the things I like to tell people is, like let's say you start January 1st and you get discouraged in January or February that the weight's not coming off. I had this discussion with someone last year. They had quite a bit of weight to lose and they even like lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months. So they were so excited, but they were upset that they hadn't lost more. They weren't at their goal. So they stopped completely. They gave up, like what's the point? Like you're going to be somewhere in 6 months and 6 months comes from now. How mad is yourself are you going to be that you didn't just keep going? Like, again, imagine if you only lost 1 pound every 2 or 3 weeks and you were down another 10 or 15, 20 pounds. Next year, you're going to be so happy that you did it. Like you really can't fail until you actually give up. You can fail a meal, you can fail a day, but until you actually stop doing it, like 1 pound a month is still going to get you to your goal eventually. You're going to be somewhere. You might as well, go after what you want.
I couldn't agree more. And I love that quote is the only way to fail is to quit. And like, that's the way I kind of live my life. And it's like, again, we've talked a little bit about failure too, especially like when you're in the gym and like, that's a big switch that I made was like kind of that 8 to 15 rep range. Like I was always that guy. Like I'm always trying to like max out, hit a PR or something like that. And it's like, that doesn't work well in my joints anymore. I'm too old for that shit. But now that I can focus on like that 8 to 15 range, really hone in on technique, that mind-muscle connection, it really has been a game changer. It's like I've seen my lats start to grow a little bit. I'm like, man, that's what having wings looks like. You know what I mean? But, again, I think it's like it's a shift. I think as you get older, you kind of realize like, you don't want to be doing PRs every week, but like really like shifting into, again, 8 to 15 rep range and, having a consistent plan. Again, I mean, you have no choice but to succeed in that area. But I did want to transition to your social media following and running your own business in this area. Kind of walk us through. Let's start here. Let's start with some of the success stories that you've had with your clients. What are some that stand out?
Yeah, and so that's what's crazy is when you kind of start this journey helping others, you think everything from the beginning. You're like, okay, so my goal is to become the best version of me so I can pass that along to everybody else. And, we all have a different definition of what success looks like. So at first, you think like, oh, every one of my clients wants to either just get stronger or lose weight or both. You forget that like there's their daily habits that they go. And for me, I post my faith every day. And I've had clients that have literally found their faith, start posting their stuff every day, started going to church with their families and read the Bible every day. So it's funny that you don't even think about that stuff when you start, but those have been some of my biggest wins and guys that have literally actually gotten closer to their families. And then now they're setting a new goal or new standard for their wife and for their kids. And, for a guy being able to go to an amusement park and not have to sit out, it's little things that you don't really realize that some people have to deal with. And then other guys that literally drop 30 pounds in 90 days. It's pretty incredible what you can do when you commit to something. And I think they would all say like they didn't completely change their life to like not have any fun. They just focused on the right things and then life actually got better. You give up a lot of the negative things, you give up some of the bad things, you're going to see so much more positive. But, hearing those things where they can do stuff with their family. Now their kids are excited about working out, or, their wife had lost 10 or 15 pounds just from them teaching them how to cook and showing them what to eat, and really like bringing those families together and seeing the confidence grow in people, especially when you're 35, 40 years old and you can get your confidence back. You're going to be a better mom. You're going to be a better dad, and you're definitely going to be better at work. And if you can do all that and be a better parent, it's just kind of a win-win all around.
And I think that's such a game changer, because for what you're doing, it's not just the results on the scale. It is changing your life. And,
Oh yeah.
that's something that I think about as well, as like, all the positives that have coming out of like, putting down the drinking, eating healthier. It's like, I have more energy. I have more time to spend, I've saved money, there's so many things that go into making these small changes. And, sometimes it starts in the gym. Sometimes it starts, in the kitchen. But, these small changes lead to other changes in other aspects of your life that are all positive. And again, that's what I love about your social media, is like when I see those success stories, it jacks me up to like, go work out harder, because again, it's like you're changing people's lives. That's the goal of Elevant, is I want people to understand our motto is to rise and go, chase your dreams and never stop. And it doesn't matter what your dreams are. It's like, again, just never stop, just keep going. It's that simple. It's like, be 1% better each day. And like, that's what I preach.
Absolutely.
That's what I want others to really understand about what this brand is all about. It's helping people. And again, it's like, I love these types of podcasts where, people really get to share their story, their reason behind what they do. And this is where we're going to transition into like your rise and go story. We had an opportunity to chat last week, and, I'm really excited to, or not last week, this was like the other day, but, really hone in on, what makes you rise and go? What's your story behind it?
Yeah. And I know we had kind of talked about that a little bit, and I definitely thought about it a lot. And, once I committed to like, hey, like, I need to be a better dad. I don't need to drink every weekend. I don't need to spend my money on those things. And once I really made the commitment to kind of invest in myself, and whether that's the health, the fitness, or even like on my business, and like you said, my social media stuff, that's really kind of taken off a lot more than I thought it would. My goal for the year was to get to like 2,000 followers and help like 20 people. I think I'm over 50 people helped already, and just hit 14,000 followers. So it's pretty cool to see like what someone that literally has 0 followers and has never made a fitness post in their life can do when you actually commit to something. And that's what I kind of show my clients, is like, when you go all in, the only thing kind of holding you back is your limiting beliefs. So that's what I've kind of tried to strip away. Invest in yourself. Don't, anything you spend money on that's going to better you is an investment. It's not an expense. So really change the mindset. But for me, it was like, it's, so cliche, but to be the best husband and the best dad I could be. But once I realized how simple those small changes needed to be to become that person, I really felt like I needed to help others. I really felt a calling to do more, to really branch out into like, so many people want to do something great and kind of hold it in. Like, the last thing I want to do is like hold in anything. I want to tell everybody how to do it. I want to give them the blueprint. And I just want to show everybody how simple it is to be able to maximize your life and really live the life that you want. And it doesn't matter what age you want to start. And that's the best part about fitness, is it's kind of the gateway to all this, is you have complete control of what you eat, what activity level you do. And even if you're busy and you can't get to the gym every day, you can still eat protein. You can still watch your macros. You can get in the best shape, and that's going to like translate to every aspect of your life. So it's pretty incredible. That's kind of the gateway of like, you start with your fitness first and then watch it branch out from there.
Yeah. And, what I think is something that's incredible about your social media is it's truly authentic. I see so many social media influencers, like you see these guys that are all jacked up on steroids. I mean, they're jacked, but it's like, that's not what I'm looking for. Again, being like your true authentic self, having that passion for helping others, I think is a real game changer. And I think, it's not surprising to me that your social media has blown up. It's been so cool to watch that happen. And, I comment on your videos all the time, because I relate to what you're trying to do, how you're doing it, the people that you're helping. And again, it's like, I've always had that mentality where it's like, what can I do for others? Sometimes I'm a little selfish, I'll admit it, but there's something incredible in helping others achieve their best selves. And it was funny, I was talking to my friend last night, and he was asking me about meal plans, how I lost my weight. And I'm like, you're a dad. I got a guy for you that is absolutely perfect. You can follow him. So I sent him your Instagram. I don't know if he followed you yet, but he definitely will, because I told him that we're recording a podcast here today. That's awesome. Again, it's like, for me, it's like, keep going, man. I mean, I know that you're passionate about it. You're not going to stop, but what you're doing, I know it's changing lives, and I love every second of it.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And I was excited when you had, asked me to be on this podcast too, because I think you kind of nailed it on the head where, we go to social media to see these people work out and eat and do all this stuff. And what we see is this like almost like this unattainable level of where they're at, of just how jacked they are, how shredded, or this woman's just doing all these amazing things, or, well, that's not possible. We automatically assume, well, that's not possible with my life or with kids or with that stuff. And that's where I think mine's kind of helped a little bit, because I still work full time. I do this on the side. I help all the clients. I'm a full-time dad. I do all this stuff, and I can still fit it in because you just make small changes throughout your day. You really look at your day, you see where you're kind of wasting time or spending time where you don't really need to, especially watching TV or, aimlessly scrolling social media, stuff like that. But, I kind of like to show people like this is possible with the lifestyle you want to live. Like if I can do it, trust me, you can do it. It's not hard. I mean, it's simple, but it's just really easy once you actually nail down the simple routines, and you can see amazing results.
No kidding. You know what my big thing was that I had to put down?
What was that?
Gaming. I was a Call of Duty nerd, and I would
see that's huge. So many guys do that, and they don't realize, like I want to make a video about that too. It's like, well, you don't have time to work out or eat healthy, but like if you game 30 minutes a day, that you could get shredded with 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, you could get shredded.
I mean, I would game 4 or 5 hours at a time. It affected my sleep. I mean, Call of Duty is a very addicting game, but and it's like over COVID is like, I played a lot in college when I was younger, but then I gave it up for a while, and then COVID hit where it's like you can't leave the house. So it's like, I'll just go right back to gaming. And for probably 2 years, it became a crutch. It was something, I need to kill time. I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm just going to game, whatever. And ever since I put down the sticks, it's like I spent all that time in the gym now. And so, again, it's like you said, it's those simple changes that can be hard to give up. I'll admit it was hard to give up. I still have my PlayStation downstairs, but I've never plugged it. I know. I got to sell it. I got to get rid of it. I know. My girlfriend's like,
if you do macros, do all that, then give yourself 30 minutes. And that's the thing, is you don't have to take these things away, but, don't, just do them every night instead of other stuff. And it's kind of like how people look at food. They do a great workout or they have a great week. What do? You reward yourself by overeating and over drinking. You really, erase all those gains. And that's where someone does that. Or you might sit in game and order pizza and drink 7 Mountain Dews. So it's really easy to control those things. Use it as like, I deserve this or I earn this, not necessarily like to punish yourself.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I was just going to say my girlfriend would murder me if I plugged that PlayStation in again. Oh, man. We were talking about it because where we just moved, we took it out of like the storage container. She looked at me like, don't even think about it. I was like, don't worry, it's over. It's all good.
Out of sight, out of mind. Don't even bring that in here.
I do. You ain't lying. I just bought like this brand new, I think it's a 65-inch TV. It's huge. I'm like, man, the graphics, the gaming, it would look great on here. But I'm like, I'll just watch my Minnesota sports. It's all good.
There you go.
But I wanted to ask you, like, who are you rooting for here in the World Series?
This was a lose-lose situation for me. Seeing these two teams, I mean, it's still baseball, so I'm still going to watch. And it's the first, I joked with my wife 3 weeks ago when the playoffs started, that the baseball season finally started. It's weird just how little you have the TV on and watch stuff. When you get to kind of where I am with the kids, you basically watch their cartoons and then try to be productive when they finally go to bed at 8 o'clock. So, a lot of work outside those hours. But then once these two teams got in, you have to watch the two biggest teams. So MLB is probably loving this market. But at this point, Dodgers being up, I got to go continue to root for the Dodgers. I just can't ever root for the Yankees no matter what.
That's totally fair. The Yankees own the Twins, so I
want Judge to pick it up, do a bit better. I feel like he's getting a bad rap in the playoffs. Obviously, you pay someone that much money, you want to see him hit a little better. But he's the best player in the American League right now, so I want to see him do better. But at this point, I think I want the Dodgers to go ahead and win it.
I find that to be so interesting. I think I saw a stat or something. I don't know if it was like Luke Gehrig or someone. Like their first like World Series, like they hit really shitty, like under 200. But then it's like the more you get there, it's like the more the pressure kind of, there'll always be pressure, but you get more comfortable. And like I think about when I'm playing amateur baseball and like, we play, roughly 50 games a summer. Those league games, the non-league games, those are all fun. But like when you get into playoffs, the pressure mounts, especially when it's win or go home. And, I think the more, I just foresee the Yankees, the Dodgers, being in the playoffs for the conceivable future. But, again, it's like people are always so focused on like, what have you done for me lately? It's like, can you imagine? Like, I can't even imagine like stepping into a box in a World Series and like I'm facing the best pitchers in baseball. Like, I need to be successful here, or I'm nothing. It's like, no, he's still like one of the best players in the league. It's just like
they
he
forget
picked the
everything
worst
he's
time
done
ever.
the last 8 months. They just erased everything he's done for 8 months, and like get all mad. And and I think even it was the first series of the playoffs. Like he said out loud, like if we don't win, I'm going to take 100% responsibility. When you put that kind of pressure on yourself, that's impossible. And people get nervous going to the gym for the first time. Imagine playing in the World Series. Like I couldn't even imagine that type of pressure you'd put on yourself.
Yeah, man. It's like when we were in like conference tournaments, it's like that, let's say like what do you call it? Like the nervousness meter, like it does go up, but it's like when you step in between those lines, it's like you've been there, you've done that. It's like it's game time, right?
Oh yeah.
And of course there's certain situations where, the feeling is heightened of pressure situations, but it's like if you believe in the work that you've done, and I know those MLB players, they've done a lot of work to get to where they are. It's like, at the end of the day, he's getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. So it's like, it really doesn't matter. But, again, I'm excited for this game tonight, man. I'm telling you, if the Yankees can pull this off, man, it's like that 2004 Red Sox team all over again. It's like, I don't want to see it. I do want to see the Dodgers win, but yeah, I'd like to see this game go, or the series go at least 6 games. If we get to 7,
that's the thing. At this point, you never want the season to end. So again, I'd rather it go as many games, and then each game it makes the pressure even that much better. Because last night there wasn't any pressure. Like even Dave Roberts was like, "It is what it is. We got next game." And then tonight you can't really do that. And the next game you definitely can't do that. So the more games, the better. It makes it more exciting for fans too.
No, I love it, man. Again, thank you for joining our podcast here today. For our listeners, can you give them your social media handles?
Yeah, so it's Ryan Concannon Fit. Nice and simple, just my full name and then fit. Basically post most things on Instagram, so that'd be the best place to look. Real easy to find, and just a redheaded guy, so you'll notice me real easy.
I love it. No, I was going to say, like, if anyone wants to reach out for like consultations, it's best to reach out to you through I was going to say LinkedIn, because I'm on LinkedIn all the time, like through Instagram.
Oh yeah, Instagram is the best way, and that's the thing is it's weird you start doing this and you're always on social media, but you're not using social media for social media anymore. It's like not fun for me to be on social media anymore. It's fun to like do this stuff, and I'm continuing to learn like what to do as a coach, and you got to learn content, you got all this stuff. So I'm always on social media, but not for the fun way anymore. I'm always doing that stuff.
I was going through like, cause I got some new products coming, and I was like, all right, I got to put together a reel. And I'm literally sitting there for like 45 minutes. Like, I got to edit it this way. I got to do the transitions. I got to add the text. I'm like, I just fucked this up. I got to start all over. It can be a lot, but again, I think it's so important to like the visibility of your brand or, your channel, that you continue to do that. And it's like those little things. It's like, I always say, like, do the hard things, and the easy things will, like, they'll be even like out of your mind. They're so easy. But no, again, thank you again. I think, we're at about 54 minutes. I think this is exactly what we were looking for. So yeah, for our listeners, we're going to drop this on Sunday. So when you hear this, it'll be Sunday, hopefully. And, again, I always tell people, rise and go, chase your dreams, never stop. Thanks again, bud.
Absolutely, man. Have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
Take care.
See you guys.